depths of the sea. Back to the block, Snoop Doggy Dogg, funky, yeah, the doc went solo on that ass, but it's still the same. Long Beach is the spot where I serve my cane. Follow me, but don't lose your grip. 9 trizzies, the years there for me to fuck up shit. So I ain't holding nothing back, and motherfucker, I got 5 on the 20 sack. It's like that, and as a matter of fact, cause I never hesitate to put a nigga on his back.
Yeah, so keep out the manuscript. You see that it's a must, we drop gangsta.
What's my motherfucking name? Yeah.
Hey, it's Elaine. This is episode 674 of the Orange Pill Investor. And I'm really not going to talk about this for very long. But I will mention the Balakay2b algorithm change briefly. And one thing that I'm thinking about and a little bit nervous about, it might not matter to a lot of folks, but it just reminded me of the old Key and Peele skit where the hood teacher comes to teach at the I don't know, the white people school, whatever, and he calls Blake Balakay, and that's got to be one of the funniest fucking skits of all time. But I guess we don't know what we're calling Bitcoin, and some people still want to fight over whether the fork that Luke's working on is going to be called Bitcoin or not. And I don't really know why they're arguing about it, because as far as I know, the exchanges decide. Like, I don't think we knew. I'm really trying to rack my brain for 2017 when I had my coins in cold storage and we had the same worries that we have now about replay protection and making sure that you got access to your altcoins or whatever. But I think Ver was mad because he wanted Bcash to be called BTC. You want the name to come along with it because everybody just knows Bitcoin is BTC. And so if you go searching for BTC, you want it to be your coin. But of course, on the exchanges, like if it was just transacting, then anybody you could call it whatever the hell you wanted. But the exchanges, if they're going to list both coins, they got to call one BTC and they're going to call the other one something. So if you're worried about your Balakay coins, it is something that I was a little bit nervous about as well. I replied to one of Chris Guida's posts asking him about it because the scenario that I really wish I hadn't gotten myself into, but the cold card hack spooked me. And so my son and I do a weekly DCA buy every Friday. We don't have a lot of Bitcoin on strike, but now I want him to make sure that he gets his hard fork coins, right? I want him to make sure that he has his coins on both chains. He can hodl them both. It doesn't matter, which chain survives. And the only hopium that I saw that I thought was slightly a bad take from a mechanic was somebody said, "Oh, but isn't centralization risk from the miners and big Bitcoin and all of that going to repeat itself with the Balakay2b coin?" And he was like, something like, "I hope not," or basically, "I hope this stays as a cypherpunk and maybe has some kind of underground trading potential and can just, I don't know, sneak around in the shadows and never get noticed." But I think that doesn't work, because if money really is a winner take all, if protocols are, if protocols are winner take all, then there can only be one money, and everything else just trends to zero against it. So you either have to win or you lose, right? There's no like, oh, we'll just be silver to the dominant gold protocol or something. It just, everything trends to zero against the dominant. Now, obviously, gold is being disrupted by Bitcoin, and seashells got disrupted by whatever the hell they got disrupted by, and we ended up kind of settling on gold at some point. And I think there's a lot of immediate reactions to the hard fork, like, oh, now you're a shitcoin. I'll do a whole episode on that, whether hard forks are shitcoins or not. And the TLDR version is not automatically, not with the ease and lack of thought that a lot of people are dismissing hard forks. And I've never been forced to actually think about it until now. So putting a lot of thought into that for now. But generally with a hard fork, as long as you get your coins off the exchange and into cold storage ahead of that snapshot, you're good, and you get 1-for-1 Bitcoin on the new fork as you had on the original. And as long as there's replay protection, you should be fine. But this is super weird because it was a soft fork that ended with a chain split. So this was not like a predicted hard fork. This ended up being a chain split. And you can even have hard forks that don't chain split. Like if everybody goes to the new chain, the new the new fork, then there's no, you don't even have to deal with listing another ticker. It's just like everybody moves on. And there have been hard forks that didn't result in chain splits, from what I understand. I can do a little bit more research on that, but from what I understand, we've hard forked in the past and not had new coins. But then, of course, the most famous fork is like, Bcash. So this one is weird because it was a failed activation, or it activated, but not successfully, and people are still mining on it and extending the damn thing. I think there's three or four blocks been found now. Can't remember exactly how many. I've got it up somewhere, but I think they're trying to extend the tip of that chain, which means that all of the blocks and all of the transactions that have taken place since 961632 are just invisible on BIP 110. And still to this day. So if I move my coins off the exchange into cold storage, Chris did reply and say, well, I could just replay the transaction on BIP 110, but I have heard that Charlie Spears episode on Dig VJ's channel, he basically said, look, if you transact, I think he said some Portland HODL is going to replay your transaction just on general principle. So I don't really know how that works. If I try to replay my own transaction to prevent griefers from replaying my transaction, and basically, spending my Bitcoin on the BIP 110 chain, like, do I have to outbid them, or is it, how much is Portland or some other griefer going to spend to basically rug me on BIP 110 chain? In the grand scheme of things, it probably won't be worth much. So I could probably just buy however much Balakay coin it takes to get back up to this little, we don't really even have that much. He's a poor college, recent college grad. So it's not like he can even afford to buy that much Bitcoin in the first place. So, I could probably just buy that fraction of Balakay coins and fucking call it a day. But it's kind of the principle of the thing. Like, I want him to experience what a hard fork is and see, oh, wow, okay. I woke up today and had coins on both chains. Like, that's cool. Or even if it's not cool, it's at least no one can complain. And that's kind of the beauty of the hard fork is people can go their own way and nobody gets rugged. Everybody gets to just hodl both and not really worry about it. I mean, from that moment on, you have to decide which coin you're going to support or which coin you're going to stack sats on. But up until that point, no one is harmed unless these fuckers can replay your transaction when you move your shit in the interim. And so that's what I'm trying to get answers about. And even what Chris said, like, oh, we'll replay the transaction, you should be fine. I'm like, I don't even know how to replay a fucking transaction. So that's one more rabbit hole I have to go down, which is one of the reasons why I didn't move it off the exchange in the first place, because we had the goddamn cold card hack. And I was like, well, fuck it. You know, my son's coins are probably safer on strike than me trying to move it to the cold card device, because we generated seed phrases on there, and he's only got like 300 sats on that fucking thing. We moved with lightning, so if they sweep his 300 sats, it's not the end of the world. But if we move the rest of his sats to that device and then they got swept, that would be fucking heartbreaking. So my seed phrase was good to go because I reused it from a previous cold storage device, so I could create him a wallet there and move his coins to it. But I don't want some fucking scumbag to be able to replay his transaction on BIP 110 and rug his coins, or mine. I've got some, I want to move mine off of strike as well for the same reason. But yeah, it's just more bullshit I have to go through to figure out how to do this stuff. But yeah, it was the cold card scare that made me hesitate and not get them into cold storage before the mandatory signaling, which I knew I should have done, and they fucking knew what they were doing when they scheduled this attack. The timing on this attack had to be intentional with the activation. Now, not necessarily they were anti-BIP 110ers. I mean, I think 90% chance they probably were, but on the 10% chance that they just wanted to do it at maximum like likelihood that people would be moving their coins off the exchanges onto their cold cards because it's uncertainty around BIP 110's activation. So regardless of whether it was anti-BIP 110ers that are responsible for it or not is unknowable, at least for now. But I mean, it's pretty fucking suspicious to me. Sandeep says there can be only one. Exactly. Connor McLeod. That's exactly how it is. So, which puts me in a weird position too, because I'm kind of harboring a revenge fantasy that Balakay coin would actually succeed, and if it does, that means BTC fails. Now, it really wouldn't matter to anyone who continues to stack sats in both, and no one would get rugged off their pre-activation stack. But man, I mean, it would just be like, I sold all my Bcash a long time ago. It would be like all of a sudden, fucking Bcash comes back and becomes the dominant coin, and like all of the fucking people holding BTC with no BCH just got completely disrupted and wrecked. So it's weird because you can't just say, oh, well, I hope both coins do well. If protocols are winner take all, then they both can't. So in order to root for one, you're basically rooting for everyone else to get wrecked. Which I don't want for anyone, but I don't know, it's almost kind of like the religious argument. So I used to I'm not religious, but I used to go into all the forums, and they would have what's it called when you argue about religion? Um, and one of the Christian guys had a whole website around it. Anyway, doesn't really matter. But it'd be like Christians versus Muslims fighting about who was the real God or whatever. And it's a weird thing where like you can be completely tolerant of other people's religions, but if you actually believe in your heart that only people of your religion go to heaven, then you're basically saying you think everyone else goes to hell, and you can be cool with them, uh, following their own religion. But at some point, you're kind of like, you can do whatever you want, but you're going to hell. That's when you die and you're not worshiping the right person. It's kind of the same with this. Like, you can say, oh, well, everybody can just go fork off and everyone's fine. But like, if only one can win, then everyone else gets fucked. So that's that's unfortunate. But again, it's kind of, I mean, unfortunately, it's a feature, not a bug, because it just goes back to privatizing losses and socializing the gains, because um, the dominant chain can actually learn from the forked one. Like maybe they adopt something that's good, and you can you can kind of cheat off each other's paper. Um, but yeah, it does kind of suck. That somebody's gonna not be happy. What's up, Buffalo? All right. So with that being said, I mean the stuff's moving a little bit today. Now this account, um, obviously this is in protection mode or whatever to protect my account numbers. But I was down like 10% for the year in my main account. And with this pump, I'm only down like $500. uh, so it's mostly on the back of ASST Strive, because I probably have half and half between Tesla, SpaceX, and Strive, with a little, SATA, and my last 100 shares of Strategy still chilling. Um, my buddy from high school is still trading Strategy, and I was kind of on the fence about whether I should continue covering it. And he's like, "Come on, man, don't stop trading it." Unfortunately, this isn't kind of how you want to be trading it. So even if I continue to cover it, this isn't the situation that you want to be in, which is selling covered calls that are already in the money. Now, I rolled this out 40 days just so I could get some extrinsic value in here, but this is not capturing very much theta at all. But it's, you really can't, nothing you can kind of really do about it. But if I wanted to demonstrate how to trade 100 shares without ever losing them, the only way I think to do this, and it's still no guarantee, is to carry some uncovered shares or some uncovered long call exposure. And you kind of have to imagine, like, let's ignore this because this is not a bad example, really. So in this case, let's say that this was expiring today and I sold the 87 and the price is currently 97. That means I got to pay $1,000 in order to not have my shares get called away. Now, if I don't have the $1,000 and I had to come up with that money with shares of Strategy, that's pretty easy math. I would need 10 extra shares. If I wanted to close this position now, it's going to cost me 1,500, which would be 15 extra shares. And so you kind of have to just guess at, like, okay, if I sold the expected move at the 120 45 days from now, what's the worst case I can imagine that I would get bent over on this? Let's just say it goes from 120 and then another 20 and goes to the 140 strike. That means I got to come up with $2,000. The difference between 120 and 140, or excuse me, yeah, the equivalent, yeah, $2,000, $20 a share, and times 100 shares is $2,000. And if strategy was at 140 a share, then I have to take, let's see, calculator. That's $2,000. Hypothetical $2,000 I got to come up with divided by 140 a share. That would be 14 shares. So my guess is that approximately 20 delta is a kind of reasonable cushion. Actually, you know what? 2 standard deviations will cover like 94% of events. And so that would actually be another, that would actually be 30 divided by 140, which would be about 20 shares. Yeah, so a little over 20 shares. If you really want to make sure that you don't get shares called away, you'd probably have to insure it with like 40 or 50 shares. So for maybe every 100 shares that you cover at the expected move, you probably got to carry 40 shares or so uncovered. But the cheapest way to come up with delta is actually with long calls. So you can get 6 delta for $200. And so if I need 20 delta, let's just, and I'm sorry, what did I say? 40 delta? 40 delta divided by 6. I would need to get 6 or 7 of these long calls. And at $200 a pop, that'd be $1,400. So $1,400 is a little bit cheaper than 40 shares of this, which would cost you $4,000. The other benefit to buying the long calls is that based on gamma, as strategy's price pumps, you're going to get more than 6 delta. So I'll probably do something like that as soon as strategy's price drops. Like, I don't want to buy long calls on a pump. So maybe I'll do, let's see, anything under 3 or anything over 365 would let me buy these, and then if I do profit on them, I would pay some long-term capital gains as long as I hold them for a year. And actually, these are a little cheaper at 396. So I don't want to pay that full amount. I actually don't even want to pay this. I would want to buy these if strategy crashes 5 or 10%. So I'm actually going to put in, let's see, 6 delta. If this drops $10 a share at 5 delta, it's 50 cents. So I want to buy these at like 165 minus 50 cents, so 115. I'll buy them at 125. That's actually not bad. And how many did I say? I need like 7 of them. You know, I'll buy like 10 of them. Now, if strategy never dips, then this will never fill. But this is how you want to think about, if you're just trading 100 shares and you never want to lose them, you have to have, or just have cash. I mean, you can always just pay the money if you've got cash. But when this rips, it can really go nuts. So All right, Tesla I got to deal with. Make sure I don't get my shares called away. This actually, I guess it didn't work out too badly. I sold it for 8 and I got to buy it back for 8. So this is basically a break even. Tesla must be up over the last 24 hours. So let's roll it out again. And let's see if I try to come up one strike. Is that going to be a debit? Yeah. Okay. I'll just keep the same strike. Oh, let me reshare without volume. It's only 130 bucks, which is, I mean, it's about a third of the underlying price, and that's for 2 trading days. So another 130 would be 260, and then maybe another 100 bucks over the weekend, 360. So it's about 1% for the week. So not terrible, but there's no upside here either. SpaceX has been on for 5 days. There's plenty of extrinsic value to collect here. Especially people, whether the AI bubble fears are correct or not, at least if the bottom drops out of this, my price to get assigned would be 130 minus the $6 I got paid. So it's definitely a lot better entry process selling cash secured puts. Got the 300 SATA. I'm basically waiting to see if, like, there's no reason for me to be doing this probably. If you look at anybody's that covers price, we're like right at the 200 moving average, 200-day moving average, I believe. So like Bitcoin's price is pretty deep value. It's 50% off all-time highs. It's at the 200-day simple moving average. I think Smith & Wesson said something like, at these prices, it generally only stays here like 8 days a year or something. And, but, they could play some games with the price if they want to. It really wouldn't surprise me if they drop it 20%. So I don't feel like I need to completely just flip leveraged long right away. Like even if this goes up to 80 or 100, at some point it's going to hit some resistance and come back down to earth. So I'll just buy that dip. Even if I have to ride it up to buy the next dip, that's fine. We got another 1.5 to 2 years of the bull market. So I don't have to catch the absolute bottom, but it'll be fun to try. Oops, where am I? There we go. So got a little bit of dry powder here and not going irresponsibly long just yet. I rolled this out 40 days to give myself a little bit of extrinsic value. I'll try to protect it with these 10 calls if strategy dumps a little bit. Maybe there'll be a little bit of uncertainty around the hard fork activation. Maybe that'll be the kind of like the final bit of anxiety before the bull market really starts running. I think August and September are pretty bad months, right, though, for Bitcoin? They're generally down months. All right, so Strive is doing good things. I have to see whether I'm going to let any of these shares get called away. Maybe I'll do exactly what I said with strategy. 50 contracts. If I have to pay $50 per contract, 50 times 50, 2550, or 25. Yeah, 2500. 2500 at $12.50 a share would be what? 1, 2. 250 shares? Yeah. So do I let 250 shares get called away and use the proceeds to roll the others? That'll probably be the decision I have to make on Friday. I also have these cash secured puts that are basically worth 50% of what I sold them for 7 days ago. So does it make sense to hold these for another 32 days to collect the other half? Not really. So I definitely need to close these. Now I don't have to necessarily reopen more, but I can. But maybe I'll reopen a fraction of that amount. Let me see what the liquidity is out here. Not terrible, but also not super great. Let me go to the same, well, 32 DT. This is the ones that I just closed, right? I could roll this up for credit to the 11. Basically double my credit from 28 or 26 to, I think, was it 24 I filled? Yeah, 24 to 46. But I only put 5 of them back on because this is a little bit riskier. All right, that freed up some buying power, but the only thing that's down is Tesla, and it's like very slightly. So I don't really feel the urge to YOLO into anything new. I wonder what a put credit spread would look like. The Ivy rank is ass. But let's see, I sell the 300, buy the 290. That's 14 delta. It's actually not terrible. It's not quite there though. Oh, actually it is. 14 delta. It's just enough. On a $10 wide spread that's worth $1,000, I generally multiply that times the delta as a rule of thumb. And this is the strike right in between the width of my strikes. So I would want to get paid at least 140 bucks on this. So this isn't terrible. Let me look and see if the liquidity is even better on the 32. $15 delta. Liquidity's pretty tight here. Maybe I'll sell these instead. Five of them. Oh, didn't get an insta-fill. Let me just be very stingy with this. I'm just going to roll this down like a penny. Penny at a time. Okay, good. That's not terrible. And then I'll just go ahead and put these on. Wait, where are they? Here we go. Group, vertical, put credit. And let's close at 50% so that I don't have to watch it. So I got paid basically $1.60, trying to buy them back for 80 cents. All right, I think that's about it. I still feel kind of underinvested, but I guess I'm okay with it for now. Gun says still holding spot Bitcoin. Yes. Yeah, I don't have any plans to sell that coin. I guess it would have to get pretty bad. Um, but it is kind of a it's a challenge to your conviction level. That's basically burning the ships behind you, and that's 100% choosing that fork. Now, the OG that got me into Bitcoin originally, he told me he still has his BCH, right, from that hard fork. He just hasn't bothered to, even though it seems obvious, as far as he's concerned, it's worth the peace of mind to just hold both coins forever because you never know. But the decision I think really is where it comes down to is in the future, what sats do I stack? It would be very difficult for me to continue to buy legacy Bitcoin. I went back and looked at all of my arguments. I mean, all of the property rights arguments, all of the arguments that spam is an attack on Bitcoin, I think are all still correct and true. It's kind of, you could even look at it as a tax. It's a tax on the users. Like if it increases how much a user has to pay, then it's codifying a tax on Bitcoin that's paid to the miners. And that's basically welfare. And that's not really supposed to be how this works. All right, again, Tesla. I had already rolled this out, I think, but this damn thing is in the money as well. Oh no, I rolled it out 3 days ago. I was trying to play the 3 times a week game here and kind of got burned on that one. So we'll see how badly I get wrecked if I do. Plenty of extrinsic here. No reason to roll this or do anything with the SpaceX position that's only 7 days old and a ton of extrinsic value. ASST here as well. I've got the 3,700 shares. I've got 31 weekly covered calls, just very aggressively trying to plow as much money into gathering at the money premiums as possible. And again, if I have to pay $50 a pop times 37 contracts, it's about $2,000. And if we're still trading at this price, I gotta have to peel off about what, 175 shares or something, which is fine. And actually, now that I think about it, rolling, if I rolled the other 30 for a credit, that might offset. I might not have to let any get called away if I can collect $2,000 worth of premium. So we'll see. The ones that I sent out a month DTE are getting wrecked as well, but I don't have to make a decision on this for a couple of weeks. So no sense of urgency there. I did buy this one single solitary long call, which has about, 40 delta exposure. So yeah, I mean, if I, this isn't going to cut it though. This isn't going to be enough. Like if Strive pumps to $15 a share or something, that's only going to be like 40 shares worth of value. So what, this might increase to $320 or something in value in a week. So this isn't going to be enough to protect even like maybe one contract. Certainly not 37 contracts. But regardless, it's fine. I kind of forgot to turn this into a cash secured put account. If I did, I'd probably be able to stack a bunch more SATA here. So I kind of feel like this isn't fully optimal, but it's still fine. You know, maybe I'll let 100 shares get called away this week, and maybe I'll rotate and go back to step 1 of the wheel and sell a cash secured put at like the 11 strike or something. And the next time that Strive falls at all, I'll probably take off this hedge. I sold it for $650 already, and I can buy it back basically 30% cheaper now, but I don't want to do it right after a pump. I'll wait for it to drop a little bit. All right, whole lot of nothing there. And with the $12 puts, I sold them for 44. I could buy them back for 12 now, or 13. So it seems like a no-brainer. I've only had this on over the weekend, and I've already collected 75% of it. But I could roll it up for a credit, but that just puts me at risk of getting whipsawed if the price comes back down to 12. And this isn't horrible. Like, this is 1% of the underlying price for 4 days. So that's still 1% returns every week, which prorates out to 50% a year. So this doesn't seem much compared to the original credit, but it's still actually pretty meaningful. So I'm not really too motivated to roll these. And again, if I do, maybe I'll roll one out to 45 DTE so that I can at least roll like the 10 or 11 strike. Give myself a little bit of a discount if this comes crashing back down to earth. So yeah, a whole lot of nothing today. I could start dollar cost averaging into the Tesla debit spreads. Nah, I've only got $15 of buying power in here anyway, so. Oh, no, I've got 5 shares of SATA I could sell. I could sell one of those if I wanted to. What's Tesla? I should have done, well, they were down to 300 a share, right? Yeah. I should have bought the debit spreads when it was 300 a share. Oh, well. All right, I think that's it for the day. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be good, y'all.